Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode. I hope you've been having a fantastic summer as you're ready to get a new year of education started, and it's going to be an interesting year for sure. Now, a lot of parents have been pulling their kids out of public school. That's also the Catholic side as well, and looking at alternative education such as homeschooling and private schools. And I think there's been a huge number in parents doing this, and a lot of young parents too. Their kids are not even in the school. They're already looking at alternatives to not even deal with the public school system. Now, as you know, the Minister of Education, Stephen Lessey, has been taking notice about this growing concerns among parents and that the way the school boards are behaving. And as they continue to drive a wedge between the students and their parents by deeming parents harmful and keeping secrets away from parents. This is pretty much grooming 101 when you isolate the child and you indoctrinate them with something else. Now, I've done a detailed video about this and how it's being done. So the school celebrates and promotes the transitions of minors, and they also involve other organizations that get involved, and they basically take it from there and get the kids involved in this community, basically pushing them down the road of medical intervention, which results in psychological and physical lifelong ramifications. So Stephen Lessey made an announcement, and he basically said, we want parents to be involved, and it's important for parents to be involved if a child decides to transition or change their pronouns at school. And I believe this announcement was made on August 28th. And I gotta tell you, these people took no time and immediately released open letters essentially outing their position and their intentions on continuing to do the same thing regardless. Now, Stephen Lessey hasn't made it law yet. He's not legislated. He just basically said, and already these people have been basically saying, no, we want to continue doing the same thing. So I just want to read you a couple of very interesting letters. The first one is by the Ontario Principals Council. They're like Principals Union kind of deal. And they're saying the Ontario Principals Councils is representing more than 5,400 principals and vice principals in Ontario public elementary and secondary schools, and is concerned about potential policy changes that impact the wellness and safety of the alphabet students. Recently, provincial governments in New Brunswick and Saskatchewan made legislative changes requiring students under the age of 16 to seek parental consent to change preferred names or pronouns at school. Okay, that seems like pretty normal. These kids are minors, they're all young, and good for New Brunswick and Saskatchewan. So what's the problem here? Well, they continue. We are concerned about similar developments impacting schools in Ontario. I bet they are. While we believe that the ideal situation would include parent and guardians in the conversations and decision making, we support current school board policy in Ontario that centers the students in the decision making and honors their right to self-identify even when parental consent is not given, to support an equitable and inclusive learning environment. Now, the way these policies are being played out is parents are not being involved, first of all, and a child is being pushed toward transitioning without the parent's knowledge, and the student can basically self-identify as basically whatever they want, and a boy can have access to girls' change rooms, washrooms, participating in sports, etc. And obviously boys, they are not happy with it either, because they don't want to be accused in an age where an accusation basically means that you're guilty before you're even proven innocent. A lot of kids on both sides, boys and girls, are even avoiding going to the washrooms at all and holding it in the entire time. So there's huge problems in the school with trying to basically make everything so inclusive that you're actually excluding everybody. So let's see what else they say. Students who do not have parental, family, and community support that respects and validates them face higher risk of self-harm, emotional distress, isolation, deteriorating mental health, and increased bullying. As far as I'm concerned, the school boards have been celebrating this increase of these alphabet clubs in the school. At the same time, they also say that these kids are at risk of self-harm and suicide. So I'm not really understanding on how under their leadership you can grow groups of people being at risk of harm and suicide. Like, aren't you supposed to bring those numbers down? Of course, the higher the numbers, the more they can pat themselves on the back and say, look, we are so important. So their goal is not to lower the numbers, but raise the numbers. It's a feature, not a flaw, to bring up these numbers because they can virtual signal to everybody how good they are. Gender affirming practices such as honoring preferred names and pronouns help reduce those risks and contribute to greater inclusion, belonging, and success at school. Absolutely not. It absolutely does not do that. Everybody is forced to comply with this or else. And a lot of these kids too, with these gender affirming practices, you stand out. And it's just a way to draw attention in the best case scenario. And in the worst case scenario, a lot of these kids are being made fun of at school because they can't fit in and they just identify as a cat, and they might be, they might have some actual mental disorder, and it really makes them stand out and they are being bullied. All right, let's have another look. Another letter from one of the organizations that is involved in the school boards, Spectrum, Waterloo Region's Rainbow Community Space. So they're saying, Dear Mr. Lisi, we are writing from Spectrum Waterloo Region Rainbow Community Space. Spectrum is an organization that serves, affirms, and supports the well-being of the alphabet individuals in Waterloo Region and the broader community through peer support, community partnership, education, training, resources, and events. Yeah, I told you, these people are involved in basically pushing kids down this pathway. And they're saying that they do affirm and support. And that's exactly what they do. They push the kids in this directions. They have gear that they sell the kids, and they're all for it. And by affirming these things, they're leading the kids down a path with lifelong psychological and physical ramifications. And in their opinion, this is a good thing, right? This is helping them out. So they say, we are disturbed by your comments at the press conference on August 28th, 2023, in which you state that the province's position is that the school boards need to disclose to parents if a child asks to change their pronouns at school. These sentiments are in line with the disturbing legislation that has been recently adopted in Saskatchewan and New Brunswick around requiring parental consent for students to change their given names and pronouns at school. Once again, they're outing themselves, and this is across the board. The elementary teachers, the principals union, the Spectrum, which is organizations, are all saying we want to keep secrets from parents. These are their words, not mine. And, they say many alphabet students live in homes where it would not be safe for them to disclose a gender identity that does not align with their assigned birth. This is not assigned. This is observed at birth. And by the way, if children are identifying something at school that they're not saying at home, it's because they're being indoctrinated at school as well. And they're being made to feel like they're empowered, and they should be. And a lot of these students, they probably don't even believe all of this. They just want to not be picked on by the system, and they'll just kind of go along with the flow. Say only 51% of students who identify with a gender other than a boy or girl agreed that they received emotional help and support that they needed from their family. Honestly, anything these people say, I would take with a grain of salt, because at the end of the day, for them to get these numbers, it's a positive thing. And let me explain why. If the student participation in alphabet clubs is low at school, this communicates to the school boards that they need to do more to raise these numbers of students being indoctrinated. However, if these numbers are high, then this communicates to the school board that indeed they are doing the right thing, thus also need to increase the indoctrination to keep these numbers, because this is what students are doing. Either way, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, the students are being indoctrinated at school, and they are doing so behind parents' back and without their consent. And like I said, we're dealing with minors here, children under 16, talking age 4 to 16, and these people have a problem with that. Well, I'm very encouraged to see that parents are finally standing up. I hope Stephen Lacy, the Minister of Education in Ontario, continues through with legislation on this, and I'm looking forward to seeing what happens next. Till next time, take care.